Hey guys, what is going on? Yeah, I don't know about you, but my emotions are all over the place every time I open up social media, anytime I look at the news, anytime that I try to understand what is going on in this world, it gets harder and harder to understand. I mean, I understand it and I understand why things are happening as they are because they've always happened this way and they will continue to happen that way. And it's just a matter of how we are going to move through this moment, and are we going to move through rationally with critical thought and compassion, or are we just going to keep on pushing through with ridiculousness and chaos and mayhem? I mean, that is our choice, and I completely understand all of the anger and those that wish to seek revenge or do all this other stuff. And I also understand the people that want, I don't, it's just, there's so much to unpack there, and there are a lot of really wonderful thinkers that are out there doing just that. But what, for me, these past few months have been really, really, really difficult because I've lost a little bit of hope and a little bit of faith in humanity. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm not saying that as if like, oh, that's a normal thing to do, because pessimism is natural and optimism is something absolutely out of control and but I have always been the hopeful sort. I have always believed that given the opportunity, most people, I say most people, I know not all people, but most people, the common everyday people that just want to get through their lives and make something of them, and to just be around their family and their friends, most of those people are really good, and they're kind, and they're compassionate. And with that belief, both in my interactions in the United States and abroad, I went away and I traveled from India to Lebanon and Jordan and Palestine and Turkey and across the Balkans and across Spain. And I found just that. I found so many good people. And now in this world where we're constantly butting heads and going up against each other for things that we don't even understand ourselves, I want to take a step back and remember that. So maybe it's just me being selfish, but I want us to hold on to hope that there are good people in the world. They want the best for humanity, and we need to remember that as we move through these moments, as we move through this movement, and hope that that is what is going to sustain us. That is what is going to get us through to the other side. So I've decided that in order to, keep myself sane and hopefully do the same for you, I'm going to read to you from my book, I Once Was a Pilgrim. If you've read it, awesome, read along. If you haven't read it, it is available online, or I can happily send it to you, unless you live outside of the States, and then it's actually a little bit on the pricier side, so I apologize for that. Not the book itself, but me sending it to you. Anyway, that's an aside. So basically, I want to share with you a story of hope, a story that people are good and that they're kind and that they don't want all of those things that they'll lead you to believe that they want. They just want to have their lives quietly with love and maybe some food. All right, so I'm gonna read to you for the next couple of days. I Once Was a Pilgrim. Probably do about like 10 minutes a day. I'm just gonna read the first few pages for you today. Maybe I'll do another video just of the pages, but of the first few pages, or you can skip whatever I'm blabbing about right now. But here we go. I once was a pilgrim. My mother always speaks of time in terms of velocity, how it speeds rather than slows in its progression. And this quickening of time is not graceful, but clumsy, breaking hearts as it passes, stealing thunder and pulling rugs from under feet. Unbounded, it cares not for beginnings, nor does it care much for ends. My mother might speak of time in this way, but for me, time only exists in two forms. There is now, there is never, there is nothing else. What if the world disappoints you? My mother asked as she turned the faucet on, allowing the water to grow warm. We were having one of our bathroom conversations in which we dance around one another in front of the vanity and speak of all the things that are in our hearts and on our minds. It was one of those rare occasions in which my mother questioned my motives for the journey I was about to undertake. What if it doesn't? I encountered with words always spoken by the hopeful and the stubborn. As I looked into the mirror and plucked from my hair a single gray that told of an age I was not ready to accept. The years, where had they gone? I just want you to be happy, she went on, and I gave her that look that only daughters are able to give their mothers. Happiness. How boring. I say this because happiness was a word that I have only allowed to stand in the shadows of my life and rarely allowed in the light. Now it is her turn to give me the look that only mothers can give their daughters. This has been our ongoing battle. Her trying to teach me sooner rather than later all that she learned in her life, and me resisting her every step of the way. What can I say? I am stubborn in my sadness. Besides, for years I had denied this happiness, believing in it as much as I believe that the earth is flat. And for me, happiness was not on this island, nor this country for that matter. Here my thoughts become like this place, overcrowded, noisy, restless, always in motion, and never still. Out there, they are free. And so it is the day before I depart that I confess to her that I must leave. There are too many things that I have been holding on to for far longer than I should. Perhaps if I were to let go of these things, then maybe my sadness might finally give way to the happiness of which she speaks. A happiness as foreign to me as the lands I was about to travel through. But one thing was familiar in all of this. My happiness does not have roots. My happiness loves to spread its wings. She is going to find her spirit, he pipped from across the deck. It was a Saturday, 3 days before my departure. What did you say, Moo? I asked through tears. I had heard what he said, but I wanted to hear it from him again. My nephew, my god monster, the love of my life. And so I pulled him in close to me, as close as can be. You are going to find your spirit. That is why you are leaving, he said in the voice that echoes, how it echoes in my heart. And then he offered that smile, that mischievous grin that will both get him into trouble and get him out of it. He had turned 5 only the month before. Under the warm April sun, I wrapped my arms around him, wondering when it was that my arms had grown so small, because it could not be that 5 years had passed since the day he was born, and already he was this big. Time does this, moving so swiftly that you spend more time in your memories than you do in the present moment. So much so that when asked what time it is, what day it is, what year, you ask only one question in return. What does it matter? I held him this way, unwilling to let go, and thought that maybe it was not my spirit that had been lost. But I was in search of something. Words, ruins, art, adventure. All of me wanted to learn what happens to love after it had been lost. I needed to know why it is that we continuously wage war, often against others, but almost always against ourselves, and if there is such thing as peace. And maybe I had never learned any of these things before, or maybe I had learned them everywhere, but only in pieces, and it was only now coming together. There was but one thing I knew before departing on this journey. You find what you seek. There you have it. The first few pages of I Once Was a Pilgrim. Next time I'm going to read about India. Come along for the journey. Maybe you'll find hope as well. Have a good day, guys.